Happened in a quiet suburb near Denver, Colorado. I've lived here for years, and for the most part, it's been peaceful. My neighbors keep to themselves, and I've always been the kind of person who avoids drama. But then one day, things changed. A few months ago, my next door neighbor, whom I'll call Gary, decided to install one of those ridiculously bright security lights outside his garage. I didn't think much of it at first. People want to feel safe, and that's normal. But as the days passed, I started noticing something that quickly turned into a major problem. This security light wasn't just lighting up his driveway. It was shining directly into my bedroom window. At first, I tried to ignore it. I thought maybe it was just temporary, or that he would move it once he realized how annoying it was. But no, it didn't move, and the light was blinding. Every night my bedroom felt like I was sleeping in broad daylight. I tried everything. I shut the curtains as tightly as I could, but the light still seeped through the edges and hit me straight in the face. I even tried sleeping with a pillow over my head, but nothing worked. For context, I'm in my late 40s, and I've got a pretty demanding job. I need my sleep, good solid sleep, the kind where you wake up and actually feel rested. But no, I wasn't getting that. Night after night, day after day, I'd lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling just waiting for the light to go off. It was unbearable. I didn't want to complain at first, it felt petty. I'm not one of those people who likes to cause problems, and I knew confronting Gary about it might make things awkward. He's one of those guys who thinks he knows everything, always talking about how safe his house is, and how high-tech his security system is. It's like he's trying to prove something. So I thought maybe he didn't even realize how annoying the light was. I'd give him some time, and maybe he'd figure it out on his own. But 2 weeks passed, 2 weeks of being kept up until the early morning staring at that damn light. I started getting grumpy. The frustration was building, and I realized I couldn't just keep dealing with this. I needed to do something, but I didn't want to just complain or go on about it like some weakling. No, I wanted to make sure he understood how bad this was. That's when I got an idea. Instead of confronting him, I figured out a way to make him experience the exact same thing I was, a taste of his own medicine, if you will. I had this giant mirror in my garage. It was one of those full-length mirrors that had been collecting dust for years. I never really liked it. It was too big for my taste but perfect for this situation. So I hauled it out of the garage and started planning. The idea was simple. The light wasn't the problem. It was where it was aimed. If I could somehow redirect the light back at him, maybe he'd finally get the message. So I carried the mirror to the edge of our property line right next to the fence between our houses, and angled it just right. I knew exactly where to place it, so that it would reflect the light directly back into his bedroom. The light would shine into the mirror, and the mirror would send it straight to his window. I felt a rush of satisfaction. It was brilliant really, a little petty maybe. But honestly at that point I didn't care. I was sick of the sleepless nights, and wanted him to know what it felt like. I didn't wait long to see if it worked. That night, I went to bed trying to act casual like I hadn't just set up a mini revenge scheme. Sure enough, around 2 a.m. I heard it, the sound of someone banging on my door. I knew exactly who it was. I opened the door slowly, pretending to be half asleep. Gary was standing there, his face red with anger. "What the hell, man?" he shouted. "Turn that damn light off." I played dumb. "What light?" "You know what light?" He pointed toward my front yard at the mirror, reflecting his precious security light, right back at his bedroom window. "That thing you put up, it's shining into my room. I can't sleep with that on." I looked at him acting surprised. "What do you mean?" "I didn't put up any light." "Don't play dumb with me," he snapped. "You know exactly what you did. You've got that damn mirror reflecting my light back into my bedroom. I can't get any sleep, it's worse than before." I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize or say anything about how this was his fault in the first place. Instead, I just stood there crossing my arms. "You know," I said in a calm voice, "this is exactly what I've been dealing with for weeks. I've been trying to sleep while that light shines into my room. So no, I'm not turning it off you first." His face turned a shade of red I didn't think was possible. He was furious, absolutely livid. His hands were balled into fists at his sides, and I thought he might explode right there. But I didn't care. He had done this to me, and now he was getting a taste of his own medicine. He started shouting again, telling me I was crazy, that I was overreacting, and that I had no right to mess with his security system. But I didn't say a word. I just stared at him waiting. "You're insane," he yelled. "I'm taking this to the HOA. I'm calling the cops. I don't know what the hell is wrong with you, but this is not okay." "Go ahead," I said. "Maybe you should tell them how you've been blinding me with your stupid security light for weeks, see how they respond to that." He stood there for a minute, his face twisted in anger trying to come up with something to say, but I wasn't backing down. I'd already made my point. He stormed off without another word, muttering curses under his breath. I went back to bed feeling oddly satisfied. The light wasn't shining in my window anymore, and it seemed like he was finally getting the message. But that wasn't the end of it. The next morning Gary came over again, but this time he was trying to be calm. His voice was low, almost like he was trying to be reasonable. He knocked on my door, and when I opened it, he didn't shout this time. "Look," he said, "I know we're both frustrated, but can we talk about this? Maybe we can come to some sort of compromise." I didn't buy it. He wasn't sorry, he was just trying to save face. "No," I said, "you first." After Gary's visit that morning, I thought maybe things would cool off. He'd gotten his little tantrum out of the way, and I'd figured he might let it go, but nope. He didn't back down. In fact, the next few days were even worse than before. I went back to my usual routine, waking up, going to work, and trying to forget about the whole light issue, but every time I stepped outside, I'd see Gary's security light glowing, mocking me from across the fence. It was like a constant reminder of how he had invaded my privacy. He was still refusing to take the light down, or even aim it in a less obnoxious direction. I knew he was pissed off, but I wasn't backing down. Why should I? It wasn't my fault. He thought he could just blind me every night and get away with it. But as much as I didn't care what he thought, I wasn't prepared for what happened next. About a week later, when I came home from work, there was a letter taped to my front door. I grabbed it open and saw that it was from the Homeowners Association. The damn thing looked official with their logo at the top, and everything. It was a complaint from Gary. Apparently he decided to take the whole issue up with the HOA. In the letter he claimed that my mirror was a disturbance and violated HOA guidelines. He even called it property damage. I couldn't believe it. This guy was really trying to get me in trouble over something that was his fault in the first place. The letter stated that I'd have to remove the mirror immediately or face fines. It was a direct attack, and now I was furious. Gary wasn't just messing with my sleep now, he was trying to mess with my life. I wanted to go straight over to his house and give him a piece of my mind, but held back. I needed to be strategic. I knew how petty he could be, and wasn't about to let him win. So, I did only thing I could think of. I got my phone, called HOA office, asked for more details. I explained side story calmly, without getting too emotional. The person on other end seemed listen, but couldn't tell if they were buying. I felt little helpless but didn't give up. If Gary thought could play me, he wrong. I thought about letter for rest night, lying bed fuming. The more thought about, the more realized wasn't going just roll over, let guy ruin life. So, I started plotting. Part 2. Again the next morning, I woke up early, grabbed the mirror, and moved it. This time, I set it up in a new position that made it even more effective. Now, it wasn't just reflecting the light back at his bedroom. It was reflecting it directly into his living room window. I made sure it was angled perfectly, so that it would shine through his front windows. But I didn't stop there. I got to thinking, why not go a step further? If he was going to involve the OA, I might as well make him feel it too. So I made sure the mirror was more visible from the street. Now anyone driving by could see how absurd his security light was. If the AOA wanted to get involved, they'd see exactly what kind of petty crap he was pulling. It was all about turning the tables. I didn't expect it to escalate, but it did. That night I was woken up again by loud banging on my door. I opened it to find Gary standing there, shaking with rage. "You're making this worse," he screamed. "Now, you've got that mirror pointed into my living room. It's affecting my entire house now, not just my bedroom." I just stood there, not even flinching. "No, Gary, you're making it worse by refusing to fix the problem in the first place. I didn't want to do this, but you forced my hand. I'm calling the cops next," he spat, his face red and his fists clenched. "You're harassing me. Me, this is harassment." I couldn't help but smirk a little. "Go ahead, you're welcome to explain to them why your security light is blinding me at all hours of the night, and why you think it's okay to invade my privacy like this. See how that goes." He sputtered, clearly at a loss for words. But then he did something I wasn't expecting. He pulled out his phone, pointed it at me, and started recording. "See this," he said, trying to sound confident. "This is going to the cops. This is proof you're harassing me. You're going to pay for this." It was my turn to feel a little off balance. I hadn't expected him to play the victim so hard. But I didn't back down. I stared him right in the eyes. "I'm not harassing you, Gary. I'm just showing you how it feels to be treated like crap in your own home. You don't like it? Maybe you should stop treating me like crap." He didn't say anything more. He just turned on his heel and stormed off. But as he left, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. He had his phone still recording. The next day, I got a text from my neighbor on the other side. This guy, Chris, had lived there for years and was a pretty decent guy. He sent me a message saying, "Hey, I saw Gary's post online. He's telling everyone you've been harassing him. He's got that video of you from last night." I was stunned. Gary had posted the video. It wasn't just a private thing anymore. It was public, and now everyone in the neighborhood was talking about it. I had no idea how far this was going to go. Gary was painting me as the bad guy, and now it felt like the entire neighborhood was turning against me. The HOA was already involved, and now the whole street was watching, ready to see who would come out on top. But I wasn't about to let him win. I took a deep breath, counted to 10, and started making calls. It was time to turn the tables again. So Gary had posted that video. He thought it was going to be his golden ticket to getting me in trouble. He had his evidence of me supposedly harassing him, making it seem like I was some kind of crazy person. The neighborhood was buzzing, people were talking about it, and the HOA was already breathing down my neck. It felt like I was about to be the villain in this whole thing, but I wasn't going to let him control the narrative. I wasn't going to let him paint me as the bad guy when in reality, he was the one who started this whole mess. I had to fight back, not just for me, but to make sure I wasn't left holding the bag while he played the victim. First, I knew I had to get my side of the story out there. I called up Chris, the neighbor who texted me about Gary's video. He was a decent guy and I needed him on my side. We talked for a while and I explained the whole situation, how I hadn't complained about the light at first. How I tried to be patient, but Gary just kept pushing me to my breaking point. He understood, and the best part, he was willing to back me up. Now that I had Chris on my side, I decided to take action. I wasn't going to sit back and let Gary manipulate the situation any longer. I went ahead and made a video of my own. I showed the entire setup. The security light pointed directly into my window, and the mirror reflecting it back into his house. I explained everything calmly step by step, showing how I'd tried to solve the problem without confrontation, and how I'd only acted in self-defense when he wouldn't move the light. But I didn't stop there. I posted my video online, making sure to include the truth about the situation. I wasn't just telling my neighbors what had happened. I was showing them. I didn't have to play victim like Gary. I just laid out the facts. Gary didn't know what hit him when he saw my video. He started to panic. It wasn't just me telling my side anymore. It was a well-documented response to his nonsense. My video started getting attention from more neighbors. People who hadn't really cared before, but who now saw how ridiculous the whole situation was. The support started rolling in, and it felt good. Meanwhile, Gary's video started to backfire. People in the neighborhood saw it for what it was, a desperate attempt to paint me as the bad guy. Some neighbors even went as far as to comment on his post, pointing out how he'd been causing the issue in the first place by putting up the light in a way that was blatantly inconsiderate. But the real twist came when the OA stepped in again. I got another letter from them, but this time it wasn't about my mirror. The HOA had done their own investigation, and they realized that Gary had been breaking their rules too. Apparently there was a clause in their guidelines about light pollution, and Gary's security light was in clear violation of it. The HOA issued a formal warning to Gary, demanding that he either reposition the light or face fines. This was my big moment. They weren't coming after me anymore. They were going after him. When Gary got that letter, he was livid. He stormed over to my house once again, this time with even more anger in his eyes, but this time it was different. This time I wasn't the one in trouble. I wasn't the one who had to back down, he did. "I'm going to sue you," Gary yelled, his face redder than I'd ever seen it before. "You've ruined my reputation. You've ruined everything." I didn't even blink, I just looked him right in the eye. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you put up that ridiculous light. You were causing the problem, you were trying to ruin my peace." "You don't get it," he spat. "You're making me look bad." "No," I said calmly. "You made yourself look bad, I just showed people the truth." He didn't know how to respond to that. His usual tactics of bullying me into submission weren't working anymore. The whole neighborhood had seen what kind of person he really was. And then, as if to top it all off, Gary's own neighbors started taking action. More people were complaining about his light, complaints I hadn't even initiated. People started calling him out, leaving him passive-aggressive notes about how bright his security light was. He couldn't escape it, but best of all, he took down that damn light. After everything, after the video, after the HOA warning, after all those complaints, Gary finally had to admit defeat. He couldn't keep up with the pressure anymore. He took down his security light. And guess what? I didn't even need to say anything. I didn't need to gloat or rub it in his face. The light was finally gone. No more blinding brightness pouring into my bedroom every night. No more sleepless nights. Gary never said a word to me after that. The silence between us grew thicker, but I didn't care. I'd won, not just in a petty way. I'd won by forcing him to face consequences for his actions. I didn't need to be labeled as bad guy. I just needed him to realize that he couldn't mess with me without consequences. As for the rest of the neighborhood, they saw the truth. They knew what happened. Gary's reputation was shot, and he couldn't hide behind his petty tantrums anymore. He tried to keep to himself after that, but everyone knew, in the end, I got what I wanted, peace and a sweet dose of revenge.